Video opens with a rapid-fire montage of visually stunning, pop art-style characters. They are all trapped, cornered, and desperate. A chess king is checkmated by a swarm of pawns. A lone warrior is surrounded by 1,000 swords. A figure stands on a crumbling cliff edge. The colors are jarring, shifting from cold blues to panicked reds with every beat of the dramatic, synth-heavy music. Voiceover, do you feel it? That creeping paralysis when the odds are stacked impossibly high. That cold, heavy voice in the back of your skull, the one that whispers, then screams. A hero never runs. A winner never quits. This, my brilliant friends, is the hero's trap. It is the beautiful, noble, and utterly foolish belief that honor can only be found in a fight to the death. It's the siren song of martyrdom that lures us onto the rocks of pointless self-destruction. But what if I told you that the most courageous, most brilliant, most powerful move you can make in the face of overwhelming force is to turn your back and run for your life? Stay with me. For I am about to reveal how to transform the ultimate act of perceived weakness into your greatest strategic weapon. The music swells and cuts abruptly. The title card appears in flamboyant, psychedelic text. The Joestar secret technique. The philosophy of a strategic retreat. Visuals shift to a more intimate, yet still hyper-stylized scene. Two abstract figures, glowing with emotional energy, are locked in an argument. Their forms distort and melt into one another, colors swirling chaotically around them. One figure is clearly being overwhelmed, their color dimming. You've been there. Of course you have. You're in a meeting at work, and an idea you cherish is being torn apart by a committee of smiling assassins. You're in a fight with someone you love, and the conversation has spiraled into a toxic wasteland of blame and accusation. The original point is long forgotten. Now, it's just about winning. Your heart is a drum solo against your ribs. Your mind is a blizzard of counter-arguments and justifications. But you can't find the exit ramp. To leave the room, to say, let's stop for now, to hang up the phone, it feels like an admission of guilt. It feels like losing. It feels like handing them the victory they so desperately crave. It feels, on a primal level, like cowardice. So you stand your ground. You dig your heels in. You double down on a losing hand, fueled by nothing but the toxic fumes of your own pride. You say things you can't take back. You burn bridges. You push and you push until something, or someone, finally breaks. You tell yourself you are fighting for your principles. You tell yourself you are fighting for your honor. But the devastating truth of the hero's trap is this. The hidden cost isn't just losing the battle. It's that by refusing to retreat, you guarantee you will lose the war. You sacrifice the entire relationship on the altar of a single, meaningless argument. You poison the well of a future collaboration for one moment of fleeting, bitter righteousness. In your desperate attempt to prove you are not a coward, you perform the most foolish act of all. You destroy the very thing you were fighting to protect. But there is an escape from this trap. A philosophy so simple, it is often mistaken for a joke. A strategy so profound, it is disguised as a running gag. I speak, of course, of the Joestar family's ultimate, most secret, and most powerful technique. Sound clip. Nige Rundio. Yes, run away. It is the single most misunderstood and brilliant strategic doctrine in the grand tapestry of storytelling. For what is the Joestar secret technique? It is not an act of fear. It is an act of supreme control. It is the ultimate, defiant refusal to play a rigged game. It is the art of preserving your most valuable asset, yourself, to fight another day, on your own terms. To truly grasp its genius, we must dissect this forbidden art into its three core principles. First, the preservation of the ultimate asset. You are the protagonist of your own epic. Your energy, your focus, your sanity, your reputation, your very life force. These are not expendable ammunition to be wasted on every pointless skirmish. They are the entire arsenal. A hero who bleeds out in a back alley brawl over a matter of pride wins no future wars. A strategist who burns themselves out in a losing negotiation has nothing left for the next, more important deal. The Joestar technique recognizes a fundamental truth. A living, breathing tactician, even one in full-speed retreat, is infinitely more dangerous than a dead martyr with a noble headstone. You must protect the queen, and the queen is you. Second, the seizure of initiative. Think about it. Your opponent has laid a trap. They have chosen the ground, the time, and the terms of engagement. They are ready. They are waiting. They expect you to fight back. They have a script, and your valiant, predictable resistance is the starring role they've written for you. When you turn and run, you set that script on fire. You detonate their expectations. You introduce a variable they did not account for. In that sudden, beautiful moment of confusion, the initiative, the very flow of causality, shifts from them to you. They are no longer the hunter executing a perfect ambush. They are the flustered pursuer, forced to react to your unpredictable move. You are no longer the victim. You are leading the dance. And third, the principle that elevates this technique from a trick to a philosophy, the creation of opportunity. A strategic retreat is never an end. It is a transition. It is the deliberate act of creating a vacuum, and into that vacuum flows possibility. You create distance. Physical, mental, emotional distance. And with distance comes perspective. The battlefield, once a suffocating mess of chaos, becomes a map you can read from a safe vantage point. You create time. Time to think. Time to heal. Time to allow your brilliant, panicked mind to settle and transform into the cold, calculating engine of ingenuity it was always meant to be. You are not just running from a bad situation, you are running towards a better one. Imagine a grandmaster of chess. They do not only think of the attack. Sometimes, the most powerful move on the board is to pull a knight back from the front lines, sacrificing a pawn to reposition the queen for a checkmate 5 moves later. The retreat is the attack. A divine philosophy, you say, but I am not a Joestar. My enemies wield spreadsheets and passive aggression, not ancient Aztec superpowers. Fear not. The beauty of this technique is its universal application. To master the art of the tactical retreat in your daily life, you need only follow this 3-step training regimen. Step 1. Conduct the ego check interrogation. In the heat of battle, when your blood is up and the pressure to fight is a physical force, you must become a cold observer of your own mind. Pause. Freeze the frame. And interrogate your own motives with the brutal honesty of a detective. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Question 1. Am I fighting to achieve a valuable outcome, or am I fighting simply to avoid the shame of backing down? Be honest. Is this about progress, or is it about pride? Asterisk question 2. Are the terms of this engagement fair, or have I walked into an ambush? Is this a discussion, or an execution? Is this a debate, or a dogpile? Asterisk question 3. Even if I win this fight, right here, right now, what is the long-term cost? Will this victory damage a relationship, kill a project, or ruin my reputation? The answers to these questions are your diagnosis. They will reveal, with perfect clarity, whether you are a strategist fighting a necessary battle, or a prideful fool caught squarely in the hero's trap. Step 2. Make the Nigerun declaration. If your interrogation confirms that the situation is unwinnable or the cost of victory is too high, you must execute the technique. But this cannot be a panicked, shameful flight. It must be a conscious, strategic choice. You do this with a silent, internal declaration. As you physically or metaphorically turn to leave, you say to yourself, with unshakable conviction, asterisk, I am not losing. I am redeploying. I am executing a strategic retreat to seize a future advantage. This is not a lie you tell yourself to feel better. It is a reframe of reality. It is the essential mental shift that transforms you from a victim into a tactician. You are not being chased. You are luring them into a new territory. This single, powerful act preserves your confidence and converts the hot, useless energy of panic into the cold, focused fuel of purpose. Step 3. Formulate the re-engagement plan. Remember, a Joestar never just runs. They run, and they think. They flee, and they formulate. The retreat is not downtime, it is the most critical phase of the operation. Use the time and distance you have so brilliantly created. Asterisk first, analyze. What just happened? Why did I lose control of the situation? What was their strategy, and where was the flaw in mine? Conduct a ruthless postmortem while the data is fresh. Asterisk second, observe. As you retreat, scan the environment. Joseph Joestar would be looking for a volcano, a mirror, a passing airplane, a bottle of cola, anything that could be turned into a weapon or a tool. In your world, this could be a piece of information you overlooked, a different department you could collaborate with, a third-party mediator you could involve. The solution is rarely where the problem is. Your retreat allows you to widen your gaze and find it. Finally, define your new victory conditions. From a distance, you can see clearly. What does winning actually look like? Perhaps it isn't their total, unconditional surrender. Perhaps it's a compromise. Perhaps it's a formal apology. Perhaps it's simply ensuring this type of confrontation never happens again. By running, you gain the clarity to define a real, achievable victory, not just a bloody, pointless stalemate. Follow these steps, and it is no longer a retreat. It is a mobile planning session. It is the highest form of thinking under pressure. The screen is split. On one side, a dramatic, stylized recreation of Joseph Joestar's final battle with cars, the plane, the volcano, the red stone of Asia. On the other side, animated maps show the Grande Armée of Napoleon marching into Russia, and then its pathetic, frozen retreat. A beautiful theory, you say. But does it hold up under fire? Does this dramatic philosophy actually produce results? For the ultimate proof, we need look no further than the master himself, Joseph Joestar, in his final, desperate confrontation with the ultimate life form, cars. Joseph is hopelessly, comically outmatched. Cars is a god walking the earth. He possesses the abilities of every living creature. He has no weaknesses. A direct fight is not just suicide, it's an insult to the concept of suicide. So what does Joseph do? He performs his secret technique. He steals a plane and he runs. And he keeps running. It looks like the ultimate act of cowardice, a pathetic, desperate flight. Cars laughs. We laugh. But this retreat is the single greatest offensive maneuver of his entire life. His flight lures the invincible Cars away from his allies, isolating him. His frantic escape leaves Cars on a chase that ends over the caldera of an active volcano. His running away was never just running away. He was moving the battlefield. He was changing the rules. He turned the entire planet into his weapon, using the very laws of physics as his stand. He didn't run from Cars. He ran Cars into a trap of his own unwitting creation. This is not mere fiction. This is a perfect illustration of the highest tier of real-world military doctrine. In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte, the god of war, marched on Russia with the largest army Europe had ever seen. The Russian forces, led by Field Marshal Kutuzov, knew they could not defeat him in the grand, decisive battle Napoleon craved. So, they refused to give it to him. They retreated. And retreated. And retreated. They practiced a scorched earth policy, burning their own villages and crops. They stretched Napoleon's supply lines across 1,000 miles of hostile territory. They lured his grand army deeper and deeper into the unforgiving heart of the Russian winter. Napoleon captured Moscow, the grand prize, only to find an empty, smoldering ruin. He won every battle. He took the capital. But the Russian strategic retreat destroyed his army more thoroughly than any battle could have. They sacrificed territory to annihilate his forces and shatter his empire. They lost the battles to win the war. This is the divine genius of the Joestar secret technique. It is the wisdom of Sun Tzu, who wrote over 2 millennia ago. He who knows when he can fight and when he cannot, will be victorious. It is the ultimate understanding that true power is not the ability to win any fight, but the wisdom to choose which fights are worth winning. The Joestar secret technique is more than a strategy. It is a philosophy of survival, of intelligence, of control. It teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. It teaches us that true strength is not the stubborn refusal to bend, but the fluid grace to reposition, re-evaluate, and return with a plan forged in the fires of perspective. It is the art of living to fight another day. And now, I turn the question to you. Look back on the battlefield of your own life. When was the last time you found yourself caught in the hero's trap? A time you stood your ground out of pride, when you should have redeployed with purpose? Describe that moment in the comments below. There is no shame here. Let us build a library of strategic wisdom from each other's battles. If this dissection of strategy and spirit has ignited a fire in your mind, if you believe that ideas are the most powerful weapons we possess, then I invite you to join our magnificent pantheon. Become a part of the Golden Spirit. Subscribe, activate your stand, and strike a pose with us in the grand theater of thought. And now that you have mastered the art of the strategic retreat, it is time to understand the mind of an opponent who knows only how to advance, to dominate, to control. Click the video on your screen to explore the psychology of absolute power and the tyranny of a stopped clock, in our deep dive. Dio's World. The philosophy of absolute control. The video card for Dio's World appears prominently on screen. The music fades out,